Bright Tuty. Every student matters.
So we understand how to work with hundreds, and we learn how to write the decimal in hundreds from fractions or fractions to decimals. Okay, so starting with hundreds. It says, as we know that 1 meter is equal to 100 centimeter. I hope you remember in the last class, we talked about 1 centimeter. It is equal to 1 centimeter is equal to 10 millimeters. That's right. In your scale, you have 1 centimeter in between 10 divisions. You see that is in millimeters. Now we are saying that if you see 1 millimeter, 1 centimeter, 2 centimeter, 3 centimeter, usually your scale is either 12 centimeters or 15 centimeters. If instead of 10, 12 or 15, you have 100 centimeters together, what do we call it? We call it 1 meter. Okay, so 1 meter equals 100 centimeters. Clear? Now I hope you also remember that we did that if 1 centimeter is 10 millimeters, so we can write 1 millimeter as 1 over 10 centimeters, right? So if we have 1 meter as 100 centimeter, so can we write that 1 centimeter can be written down as 1 over 100 meters? I hope this is clear. This is what they are telling you, that 1 centimeter can be written down as 1 over 100 meters. And how do we read it? We read it as 100ths. Okay, or we write it as 0.01 meter. We'll learn more about this 0.01 quickly. Hence, it says the second number after the decimal represent the hundredths place, which is 100th part of the whole. Like the 10th, it represents 10th part of the whole. 100 represents the 100th part of the whole. See here, we have got a number 13.95. Now, one thing very clear, I want you to make sure when you are reading a decimal number. So here it is 13.95. You will never read it as 13.95. No, never. Always read each number, each digit individually while you are reading the decimal numbers. So this will be read as 13.95. How will you read this number? This is 7.46. How will you read this number? This is 17.46. How will you read this number? It is 117.46. Okay, so this needs to be very much clear that after the decimal point, the numbers should be read as it is. Now, let us understand what all numbers do we have here as 13.95. What are the place values of each of these numbers? As you can see that 1 is sitting at the tens place. 3 is sitting at the units place. We call it units or we call it ones place. Either ways it is correct. Then we have the decimal point. After that we have 9 sitting at the tens place. Is that right? You know about this, that the number sitting just next to the decimal point on the right side, that is the tens place. And how can we write this tens place? It is 0.9. Is this right? What you see the next number sitting to 9 on the right side is hundredths place. It is 1 over 100. So how will we write it? We write this as 0.05. Do you see? Just after the decimal point, we have the tens place. So we write this particular number after decimal point. 5 is sitting even after the tens place. That is at the hundredths place. So we write it as 0.05. Okay. Now here, how are we supposed to read it? It says 13.95. Decimal in hundredths form shows that we have divided the number into 100 equal parts, and we are talking about what part? Represented by the number itself. Okay, so here as we discussed, so now let's say if I have got a number 72.38. Can you tell me which number is sitting at the tenths place? The number sitting at the tenths place is tenths place. Okay, is 3. That is basically 1 over 10. And here because 3 is sitting, it is 0.3. Which number is sitting at the hundredths place. So it's 100. It is hundredths place. So it is 1 over 100. And because 8 is sitting at the hundredths place, so it is 0.08. Clear? Now let us see how we can read these numbers, these hundredths place, the decimal numbers till the hundredths place using a diagram. Okay. So here what you see in front of you, it says, if we say that 25 out of 100 squares, out of how many squares? The whole part is 100. Out of that, how much is selected? 25. They are shaded, then how will you write it in fraction and decimal form? So it says, because 25 is the part of 100, so the fraction will be 25 out of 100. Is that right? If you have this as a fraction of whole and you see 4 parts out of it and 1 is shaded, so you write it as 1 over 4. Here we have this particular square which has got 100 divisions, out of which 25 are shaded. So we write it as 25 over 100. And how do we write 25 over 100 in the decimal form is 25 over 100 is written as 0.25. Because we have got 2 zeros at the denominator, we must have 2 numbers after the decimal point. Clear? Now, what about this one? Let's read these pictures and write the fractions for them. In the first picture, let's see how many divisions do you see? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Out of 10 divisions, what part do you see shaded? The first part here, this one, this particular part is shaded. So we write it as 1 over 10. Is that right? Just one part out of 10 is shaded. So we write 1 over 10. And how do we read it? It is 1/10. Okay. Now look at the second image. Here you have got 100 divisions, out of which only one box has been shaded. So how do we write it? We write it as 1 over 100. And how do we read it? We read it as 100ths. I hope this makes sense. And if I want to write this in decimal, how will I do it? 1 over 10 is written as 0.1. 1 over 100 is written as 0.01, because we need a number at the hundredths place in order to represent this. It clearly says 1 sitting at the hundredths place. And where is hundredths place? It is the place which is one after the other after the decimal point. Now some more. Let's name this one as say A, B, C and D. Okay. So let us work for A part. In the A part, out of 100, how many do you see shaded? 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So it is 5 out of 100. We read it as 5 hundredths. And we can write this as 0.05. Okay. Now the B part. How many do you see shaded out of 100? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it is 6 over 100, or we write it as 0.06 in decimals. So do you see? We are writing in fractions and then we are writing in decimals. Now see the C part. Here out of 100, how many do you see shaded? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's 50 and 2 more. So it is 52 out of 100. How will you write this as decimal? It is 0.52. Because we have just 2 zeros at the denominator, that is 100. We must have 2 numbers after the decimal point. If it is just single number sitting like 5, but we write it as 0.5, so that we have 2 numbers after the decimal point. Here we already have 5 and 2, so we write it as 0.52. The last one, how many do we see shaded out of 100? 1, 2, 3, 4, that is 40 and 3 more. So it is 43 over 100, right? So we write this as 0.43. I hope this is clear how we can read the given pictures which are divided into some fractions, and we write what part of that particular whole has been shaded in fractions as well as in decimals, right?
Look at the animation. Let us represent decimal numbers 0.25, 0.5, 0.75, 0.68 on a 10 by 10 grid. To represent 0.25, draw a 10 by 10 grid on a squared paper. The grid has 100 squares in all. 0.25 can be written in a fraction form as 25 upon 100, which means 25 out of 100. The colored portion represents 0.25 of the 10 by 10 grid. To represent 0.5, 0.5 is the same as 0.50. 0.50 is equal to 50 upon 100. On the 10 by 10 grid, color 50 squares to represent 0.5. To represent 0.75, 0.75 is equal to 75 upon 100. Color 75 squares on the 10 by 10 grid to represent 0.75. To represent 0.68. 0.68 is equal to 68 upon 100. Color 68 squares on the 10 by 10 grid to represent 0.68.
Moving to the next question here. Here it says that we have got a shaded portion of say 8 squares. How can you write this as ordinary fraction? If we are writing ordinary fraction of 8 squares, say this is out of 100. So I'm just writing it here. Out of 100 parts. Out of 100 parts, if you see 8 squares shaded, so it will be written as 8 over 100. Similarly, if you see 15 squares shaded, it will be 15 over 100. If you see 50 squares shaded, it will be 50 over 100. If you see 92 squares shaded, it will be 92 over 100. Right? Now, let's write these numbers in decimals. 8 over 100 is 0.08. 15 over 100 is 0.15. I didn't read it as 0.15 because it's a decimal number, it is 0.15. Now the next is 50 over 100. So it is 0.50. The next one is 92 over 100. So it is 0.92. I hope now we are very much clear how to write the numbers in fractions and how we can convert them into decimals. Let's put some numbers in this particular chart, that is a place value chart. This is a place value chart which tells the place value of each digit in the decimal number. It makes it easy to write the numbers in the decimal form. So here in the hundreds, you see all the boxes are shaded. So let me make a number, say 200. This is the tens place, say I'm writing 6 here. Then in the ones place, let's say I write 7 here. Then we have the decimal point. In the tens part, that is out of 100, 10 boxes are shaded. So I'll just write say 5 here. And here it is written hundredths. Do you see the image? It shows out of 100, 1 box is shaded. So let me just write a number, say 1 here. So what is my number? The number is 267.51. Or let me write some other number. This number is 82.07. That means there is no number at tens. It's just 7 at the hundredths place. Clear? Now look at here. We have got an example. Here it says, with the given place value chart, write the number in decimal form. Okay. So see here at the hundredths place, we have got a 4. At the tens place, we have a 6. At the ones place, we have 3. At the tens place, we have got 8. And at the hundredths place, we have got a 5. Right? So according to the table, how we can write? 4 can be written as 4 times by 100 because it is sitting at the hundredths place. How do we read this number? It is 463.85. And you see, it is 463.85. We have just seen how we can break these numbers by simply showing it into the exactly we are writing it how it is written on the times table, the place value table, and then we are solving it into separate forms and then combining the answer to write it into a whole complete number, that is a decimal number. We will do such questions further, then you will understand it even better. Starting from here we need to fill the blank in the table and write the corresponding number in the decimal form. Here you can see in the first one, we see the whole box is shaded. So out of 100, all the hundreds are shaded, right? So here we have got 100, so it is 100. In the next one, we see out of 100, how many are shaded? 1, 2, 3, 4. So it is 42. So it is 0.42. Or we can write this as 42 over 100. Okay. So now here we can fill this particular box. Here we need just one more box in here because here this hundredths needs to be fitted. So let's just write 100 here. We have got 1 at the 100. We have got no at the ones. We have got nothing at the tenths. We have got 42 at the hundredths. So if we have got 42 at the hundredths, we write 4 at the tenths and 2 at the hundredths. Every place value should have just one number. So because it is 42 over 100, how will we write it? We will write 4 at the tenths and 2 at the hundredths. Okay. So this number becomes 100. Here it needs to be one more box because the tens place is also missing. Or let's just skip this part here. We'll use the other table to work it out. For now, I hope it is clear that here out of 100, we see the complete box is shaded. So it is 100. And here because out of 100, we see 42 are shaded. So it is 42 over 100, or we can write it as 0.42. Now, as you can see, this is 0.42, right? So 4 is sitting at the tens place. It is the number just sitting after the decimal point. So we put here 4 and we put here the 2. Okay. Now, let us see here. Given the place value table, write the number in decimal form. Let's write it in the expanded form and then we'll come to the number. Writing this into the expanded form. How many numbers do you see at the hundredths place? 2. So it is 2 times by 100 plus what number do we have at the tens? It is 4. So it is 4 times by 10. Let's just put them in brackets to have a clear image. Then what number sits at ones is 3. So it is 3 times by 1. Then we have got 2 times by 1 over 10. Then we have got 5 times by 1 over 100. Right? Now let's solve this. If we times 2 by 100, it is 200 plus 40 plus 3 plus 2 over 10 plus 5 over 100. Right? Now, let us add them. So, let's just add these whole parts first. So, it is 243. So, 2 over 10 can be written as 0.2 and 5 over 100 is written as 0.05. On adding all these numbers, what do we get? We get 243.25. I hope this is clear how we have got the decimal number by working in the expanded form from the given place value table to the given decimal number. Let's try this. Here we need to write this as the decimal. I hope you remember that when we are working with the decimals, we must have either a 10 or a 100 at the denominator so that we can convert a fraction into decimal. Okay, so here because it is 4 over 5, let us convert this into a number with 10 at the denominator. So what do? We times the numerator and denominator by 2 in order to do this. So 4 times 2 is 8 and the answer comes out to be 0.8. Clear? The next one is 3 over 4. To convert it into a fraction with 10, let us times them by... Okay, so now here you see, do you think you can convert a 4 into a 10? Is it possible that we have got 10 in the 4 times table? No. Then what do we do? So instead of 10, let us convert this 4 into 100 because 100 is a multiple of 4. So 4 times what number gives 100? It gives 25 times 100. So we do the same with the numerator. So let us do 25 times by 3. So it comes out to be 75. Okay. Now 75 over 100, if we convert this in decimal, it is 0.75. I hope this is clear. Earlier when we worked with 4 over 5, this part, clearly 5 has got 10 as its multiple. So we simply multiplied it by 2 so that we have this 10 here and we converted into decimal. But then we were working with 3 over 4. 4 has got 100 as its multiple but not 10. So we cannot convert 3 over 4 as something over 10. So what did we do? Instead of 10, we converted it into something with 100 as the denominator. So we multiplied the numerator and denominator by 25. Okay. So this is the answer. Now the next one is 7 over 1000. 1000. So because it is 7 over 1000. So how many numbers do you think will be there after the decimal point? 3. When we have 10 as the denominator, we see one single digit sitting after the decimal point. If we are dividing a number by 100, we see 2 digits sitting after the decimal point. If suppose we have got a number which has got 3 zeros here, so we need to have a number which has got 3 numbers after the decimal point. It's not 3, it's a 7. So 7 over 1000 is written as 0.007, where 7 is sitting at the thousandths place. Now what comes after hundredths is thousandths. Okay. Now moving ahead. Write as fraction in the lowest term. So let's first convert this into fraction and then to the lowest term. Clearly it is 0.04. So we have 4 sitting at the hundredths place. So this can be written as 4 over 100. And let's convert this to the simplest and the lowest term. So 4 and 100, they both are divisible by 4. So let us divide them both by 4. So dividing the numerator and the denominator by 4, we get 1 over 25. Clear? This is the simplest form. So this is the answer. Now moving to the next one, it is 2.34. So 34, we see 2 digits are sitting after the decimal point. So it will be 234, that is 234 over 100. Okay. So now when we divide, in order to convert this into the simplest form, let us first divide it by 2. So this will be 1. So here it's 2. Here it's 1. Let's just do it here. 234 divided by 2. So it's 1. It's 1. Then 1 again and then 7. 117 over 50. So this is the answer that we have got as the simplest form. Next one, it is 3 numbers are sitting after the decimal point. So what do? We write 342 divided by 1000. 3 digits after the decimal point. So 3 zeros needs to be there at the denominator. Now let's convert this into the simplest form, dividing them first by 2. So it is 1, 7, 1. And here it comes out to be 500. Okay. So here we have converted these given numbers into their simplest form by first converting them to fractions from the decimal numbers. And do you see here, if we have got 2 numbers after the decimal point, we have got 2 zeros, that is 100 at the denominator. If we see 3 digits sitting after the decimal point, we have got 3 zeros, that is 1000 sitting at the denominator. Now let's do this one. Here it says write each of the following as a decimal. Okay, so it is 200 plus 30 plus 5. Let's add these whole numbers at first. So it is 235. Then we have got 2 over 10. So it is 0.2. Then we have got 9 over 100. So it is 0.09. Okay, 9 needs to be at the hundredths place. So adding them up, we get the answer 235.29. Clear? Next one, 50 plus 0.1 plus 0.06. So if we add them together, what do we get? We get 50.16. Right? Next one, it is 16 plus 0.3 plus, now it's 5 over 1000, not 100. So be careful when you write. It is 0.005. We need the 5 at which place? Thousandths place. So we haven't put anything at the hundredths place. Okay? Or else let's do this in some other way. When you see that there is nothing sitting at the hundredths place, what you can do to be even more careful with the numbers, write 16 plus 3 over 10 plus 0 over 100 plus 5 over 1000. So now this way you can be even more clear that you don't have any number sitting at the hundredths place. So here it will be 16 plus 0.3 plus 0.00 plus 0.005. Clear? It comes out to be 16.305. This is the answer. How do we read it? We read it as 16.305. Now write each of the following as decimals. So the number is 306 and 7 hundredths. So who's sitting at the hundredths place is a 7. Then we have got 306. So 306.7 at the hundredths place. So nothing at the tens place. We just have got a 7 at the hundredths place. Clear? Now 11.235. So it is simple, 11.235. The next one is 9.25 thousandths, right? So 9 and 25 thousandths. These two numbers are sitting together. This is just a 9. So after line we have got a decimal point. It is 25 thousandths. So 0 will come here. Then 25 thousandths means 25 and 5 comes at the thousandths place. Clear? So 2 will sit at the hundredths place and 5 sitting at the thousandths place.